Lore: Aegon the Conqueror. Before there was a kingdom united under one king, there was chaos. 7 warring kingdoms, divided by greed, ambition, and blood. But then came Aegon Targaryen, a dragon lord unlike any other. With fire and blood, he would forge a realm from the ashes of his enemies. This is the story of Aegon the Conqueror, a man who turned dreams into destiny and carved his legacy into the Iron Throne itself. A curse foretold. The hills erupted in a sea of fire, filling the air with ash, smoke, and molten stone, so intense that even dragons could not survive. Earthquakes shattered towering palaces and temples, while rivers of acid and molten rock consumed once proud streets. Red clouds rained down shards of dragonglass, erasing Valyria and its dragon lords as if they had never existed. But this annihilation was seen long before it occurred, in the dream of Daenerys Targaryen, remembered by history as Daenerys the Dreamer. Her prophetic vision drove her father, Aegon Targaryen, to leave Valyria, taking his family, their loyal retainers, and 5 dragons to the distant island of Dragonstone. 12 years later, the doom struck, and Valyria fell, just as Daenerys had foreseen. What remained of the once mighty freehold was a shattered wasteland of smouldering ruins. The Targaryens, dismissed by their peers as cowards, were the only dragon lords who survived the doom. From this refuge on Dragonstone, they would watch the world crumble, and one day rise to claim what had been lost. For it was not just a dream, it was a curse and a warning. Aegon the Conqueror. Dreams were no strangers to those with the blood of the dragon. One foretold the doom of Valyria, saving House Targaryen, and another sparked Aegon's conquest years later. Aegon the First Targaryen never revealed its content. The dream haunted him enough to take a monumental risk. With fewer than 2,000 men and 3 dragons, he set out to conquer the 7 Kingdoms of Westeros. Born on Dragonstone, Aegon married both of his sisters, Visenya and Rhaenys, following the Balerion custom of preserving bloodlines. Each sibling had a dragon. Aegon rode Balerion, the Black Dread, whose wings could blot out the sun. Visenya commanded the fierce Vhagar, and Rhaenys flew the swift Meraxes. Together, they sailed to the mouth of the Black Water Rush, where Aegon claimed the highest hill and began construction of the Aegon Fort, a foundation for the kingdom he envisioned. The first test of Aegon's ambition came swiftly. Lords Darklyn of Duskendale and Mooten of Maidenpool rallied 3,000 men to oppose him, but they underestimated the power of dragons. Aegon descended from the skies atop Balerion, annihilating their forces and killing both lords. It was his first victory, but far from his last. Crowned by Visenya, hailed by Rhaenys, Aegon declared himself king of all Westeros. The conquest had begun. The Wars of Conquest. Aegon's conquest was a campaign unlike any other. The 7 kingdoms, long divided by rivalries and ambition, faced a new kind of power. Fire made flesh in the form of dragons. Aegon Targaryen's campaign would topple ancient houses, redraw the map of Westeros, and cement his place in history. The burning of Harrenhal. The Riverlands were Aegon's next target, and his timing was impeccable. Harrenhal, the Ironborn King of the Isles and the Rivers, had just completed his monstrous fortress, Harrenhal. Built with the labour of countless slaves and the blood of entire generations, its blackened towers were the tallest and strongest in Westeros. Harren, known as Harren the Black, believed his colossal castle would stand for 1,000 years. Yet the very day Harrenhal was completed, Aegon arrived. As Harren gazed from the parapets, he saw the fires of Aegon's host rising in the distance. The River Lords, led by Edmund Tully of Riverrun, had already risen in revolt against their Ironborn overlords and joined Aegon's cause. Despite being vastly outnumbered, Harren dismissed the threat. When Aegon demanded his surrender, Harren met him at the gates to parley. Harren: "What is outside my walls is of no concern to me. These walls are strong and thick." Aegon: "Not so high as to keep out dragons. Dragons fly." Harren: "I built in stone. Stone does not burn." Aegon: "When the sun sets, your line shall end." True to his word, when the sun set, Aegon unleashed Balerion the Black Dread upon Harrenhal. Dragonfire rained from above, and the castle's mighty stone walls glowed red before melting like candle wax. Harren and his entire line perished in the blaze, their screams echoing across the god's eye. The next morning, Aegon named Edmund Tully Lord Paramount of the Trident, rewarding him for his loyalty. The River Lords bent the knee, and the melted swords of Harren's Ironborn were sent to the Aegon fort to forge the Iron Throne. Harrenhal, once a symbol of invincibility, became a cursed ruin, a reminder of the power of dragons. The Field of Fire. Aegon's conquest rolled on, with the kingdoms of the Reach and the Rock rallying to resist him. King Mern IX, Gardener of the Reach, and King Loren I Lannister of the Rock joined forces, commanding the largest army Westeros had ever seen, 55,000 men, including 5,000 knights. Aegon's forces numbered fewer than a fifth of that. The armies clashed in the plains south of the Blackwater Rush. Initially, the combined might of the two kings overwhelmed Aegon's soldiers, but then the dragons took flight. Aegon on Balerion, Rhaenys on Meraxes, and Visenya on Vhagar unleashed their fire upon the enemy. Thousands perished in the conflagration, their armour fusing with their flesh as flames turned the battlefield into a smouldering wasteland. Mern Gardener and his entire family were killed, extinguishing House Gardener. The following day, King Loren knelt before Aegon and surrendered. For his submission, Aegon allowed him to retain his lands and title, naming him Warden of the West. Aegon then marched to Highgarden, where the steward, Harlan Tyrell, surrendered the castle without a fight. In return, Aegon made him Lord Paramount of the Reach and Warden of the South. The King Who Knelt. While Aegon secured the south, Torrhen Stark, the king in the north, marshalled his forces. Torrhen led 30,000 Northmen across the Neck to face Aegon, whose host now included men from the Reach, the Riverlands, and the Westerlands. The armies met at the Trident, with Aegon's forces outnumbering Torrhen's nearly 2-1. Torrhen's bannermen urged him to fight, and Brandon Snow, his bastard brother, even offered to assassinate the Targaryen dragons. But Torrhen, known for his wisdom and pragmatism, understood the cost of defiance. He had heard of Harrenhal's destruction and the carnage at the Field of Fire. Under a flag of truce, Torrhen crossed the river and knelt before Aegon, laying his crown at the Conqueror's feet. This act earned him the nickname the King Who Knelt. In return, Aegon named Torrhen Warden of the North and allowed the Starks to retain their ancestral seat at Winterfell. The North's submission marked a turning point in the conquest. Torrhen's decision spared his people the horrors of war and ensured the survival of his house. The Vale and the Eyrie. The Vale proved to be a challenge of a different kind. Shara Arryn, the Queen Regent, fortified the Bloody Gate and garrisoned the way castles leading to the Eyrie. Confident in her defences, she offered Aegon her son, Ronald, in marriage. Aegon declined, for he sought submission, not alliance. Visenya resolved the matter. Flying Vhagar, she soared over the defences and landed in the courtyard of the Eyrie, leaving the defenders awestruck and the Queen Regent powerless to resist. Shara found her young son sitting on Visenya's lap, delighted and begging for a ride on the dragon. Faced with no other choice, Shara submitted. Ronald was allowed to remain as Lord of the Eyrie and Warden of the East, securing the Vale for Aegon. With the Vale secured and the North, Riverlands, Reach and Westerlands united under his rule, Aegon's dream of forging a single realm was almost complete. Yet one kingdom remained unconquered, a land where spears, sand and shadow defied even dragons. The Conqueror had faced castles, armies and kings, but Dawn would test him in ways no enemy ever had. The unyielding sands of Dawn. While Aegon's conquest united 6 of the 7 kingdoms under his rule, Dawn remained defiant. During the initial invasion, Queen Rhaenys Targaryen flew Meraxes over the forbidding Red Mountains and found the Dornish castles abandoned. At Sunspear, she encountered Princess Meria Martell, the Yellow Toad of Dawn, a frail yet unbending ruler. When Rhaenys demanded submission, Meria responded with cold resolve. "Meria, you may burn us, my lady, but you will not bend us, break us, or make us bow. This is Dawn." Rhaenys departed, but her warning lingered. The Targaryens would return with fire and blood. In 4 AC, Aegon launched a full invasion. Despite their might, the dragons failed to bring the Martells to heel. The Dornish abandoned their castles, blending into the harsh deserts and mountains. Lord Orys Baratheon faced relentless ambushes in the Boneway, while Aegon and Harlan Tyrell found the Prince's Pass a graveyard of men felled by heat and thirst. Rhaenys burned the planky town and took Sunspear, but the moment the Targaryens withdrew, the Dornish rose in rebellion. The retaliation was brutal. Dornish raiders massacred Targaryen garrisons, ambushed supply lines, and even captured Lord Orys. In 10 AC, at Hellholt, the unimaginable happened. Meraxes was shot down, and Queen Rhaenys fell to her death. Her loss ignited what would be called the Dragon's Wrath. Aegon and Visenya unleashed their fury, burning castles and laying waste to the land. Yet Dawn endured. The war dragged on for 9 years, until Princess Meria's son, Prince Nymor, sent his daughter, Deria, to King's Landing with the skull of Meraxes and a letter. After reading it, Aegon signed a peace treaty, ending the First Dornish War. The letter's contents remain a mystery, but its impact was undeniable. Through sand, spears, and shadow, Dawn endured. It had not bent, it had not broken, and it had not bowed. The Iron Throne. Forged in the flames of Balerion, from the swords of Aegon's enemies, the Iron Throne is more than a seat. It is a testament to conquest, power, and sacrifice. Its jagged edges are a constant reminder of the cost of unity and the unforgiving nature of rule. The throne, with its fangs of steel, does not permit comfort. As Aegon himself decreed, a king should never sit easy. The Iron Throne stands as a symbol of the realm Aegon created through fire and blood. Its spiked form reflects the brutality of the wars of conquest, from the burning of Harrenhal to the Field of Fire. It looms over the great hall of the Red Keep, a stark, unyielding emblem of dominance. Yet it is also a warning. Power demands vigilance. Kings who let their guard down, like Maegor the Cruel, who bled to death upon its blades, are claimed by its unforgiving nature. Aegon's vision was not just of a united Westeros, but of a legacy. The Iron Throne embodies that dream, a kingdom forged in dragonfire, where 7 once divided kingdoms bowed to one rule. It represents not just the might of the Targaryen dynasty, but the cost of their ambition. The scars it left, literal and metaphorical, remain etched into the history of the realm. For 300 years, the Iron Throne would stand as the ultimate prize, fought over by kings and queens, each seeking to impose their will upon the 7 kingdoms. Yet even in its stark, asymmetric form, the throne carries Aegon's lesson. Power is sharp, relentless, and demands constant vigilance. It is a burden, a symbol, and a legacy. A throne built not just from swords, but from the sacrifices of an entire realm. Aegon's conquest changed the fate of Westeros forever. Was the price of fire and blood worth Aegon's dream of unity? What do you think drove the conqueror? Duty, ambition, or something more? Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories from the world of Ice and Fire.